That kicked off. Awesome. Well, thank you, Brian and Matt, for joining today. Syelo crew, we have Sync2Hire here with us. Really cool product. I did a quick little demo with them a while back. Really, I think one of the hardest things that we run into as recruiters, and especially if you have a lot of recs or if you're working on, multiple clients, et cetera, it gets really messy in Slack. It gets really messy in email. And this is just a tool that they have created that will help us with that. So a bit more organization, AI-based, which we love. We all love that. But yeah, we're excited to have them on today to show us Sync2Hire tool. But you guys feel free to kick it off.
Yeah. Thanks, Sabrina. Thanks, everybody, for joining. So for a little background, myself, I've been in the space, recruitment and talent acquisition technology longer than I want to admit, about 20 years. And most of the products I've ever come across or seen, they're focused on the candidate experience, and rightfully so. And one of the reasons I really wanted to join Brian and his team and help bring this to market was this is the first tool I've seen really focus exclusively on the hiring team experience. This is internal communications, not communications with candidates at all, but it helps bring the context of an ATS within a Slack-like interface. So it makes communication easier. Everyone's focused on time to hire, cost of vacancy, things of that nature. And this is a different way to approach it. And so with that, I will let Brian take over.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. And I'm the founder and CEO of Sync2Hire. Like Matt said, we are focused on internal recruiting collaboration, and we developed this collaboration and AI solution purpose-built for HR systems. And we're syncing job, employee, candidate, application, and stage-based workflow data in order to create this organized, structured, operational workflow layer enhancement. And the result from all of this is faster decision-making, stronger alignment, and less communication chaos throughout the hiring process. Any questions before we kick right into the demo?
Not quite yet. I think we're excited to see the demo. Thanks, Brian.
Great. And everyone can see my screen okay? I know I zoomed in a little bit. I could zoom out if needed.
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. So this is an example of one recruiter, and picture, hundreds of recruiters at an enterprise organization. I always like to say Cheesecake Factory is the example, integrated with Ashby. When they come to their account, this is what they see. Remember, we're automatically syncing everything from the ATS. So there's no manual inputs, no duplicate entries. Everything is here already organized for them to start effectively collaborating within seconds. So as this recruiter, I come to my account. The first thing I'll see is all my jobs organized here. And you can see that we have highlighted the activity that needs to be seen and taken action upon. And then underneath each job, we break it down by the hiring team. So these are all the hiring team members that are assigned to this job, coming again from the ATS. And then underneath that, we break it down by two levels of communications: role level comms and candidate level comms. Role level comms are the communications that aren't tied to the actual stages or related to the candidate and active process. So you can manually create these channels and invite the team members necessary, or you could base it off triggers coming from the ATS. For example, job is created in Ashby, spin up a job intake call, sourcing strategy discussion. And then we have some examples, feedback and scorecards, and pipeline review, any communications that you want to have internally, again, outside the stage or the candidate relation. Next level is where it gets really unique. It's all the candidate level communications. So these conversations are tied to the job, but they're also tied to the stage, right? And related to the candidate and active process. And this is all the context around that candidate and the communication surrounding it. What's cool about this is any recruiter or hiring team member that moves a candidate from stage to stage in the ATS, it'll automatically spin up a new communication channel with the right stage and the right people at the right time. So these are the levels of communication. This is the organization piece to the puzzle. Remember, today, these internal folks are not only your recruiters, but your recruiting ops folks, your coordinators, your hiring managers, your interviewers, and other executives, right, that are involved, especially with these white collar corporate jobs. So this creates a lot of organization and alignment that today is scattered across Slack, emails, text, and ATS notes. Any questions so far before I jump into the actual channel itself? Great. So I'll hop into a different candidate's channel. So Emma Kim, right? And this is where all the collaboration between those internal stakeholders takes place. You can actually go back in time and choose a date to see previous communications. You can pin messages that are important to you. And you also have shared files, right? Anything that gets uploaded to either this space or happens through an upload in the actual conversations itself. We also have adding tabs. So this is where you can have a private sub channel in the same main channel, which is the public general communication. And this is where you can have, a financial discussion, compensation, offers, anything that may not be deemed as a public in the general channel here. Other than that, you can jump right into the candidate's details. And this is, again, syncing from the ATS. So you have all their details here at a click of a button. You can actually, this is an example of iSIMS, but you can do this in any ATS, deep link back into the candidate's profile in the system of record. And then what's really unique here is that you can change the stage bin status across every candidate to reflect back into the ATS automatically. So this is our bi-directional syncing capability. Outside of that, you could click to view the resume at a glance. And then we also have some quick actions here. You can start conversations, search a message within the channel, set notification preferences, archive those sub-channels that are private conversations, download the transcript and export files. These could also be uploaded to the ATS for compliance reasons if necessary. One of the most important pieces of this white space here is Sync2Hire. This is our AI assistant. As you can see, there's some pre-populated conversation here, but you can pretty much ask Sync2Hire anything around the communications, around the candidate's profile and resume, internal discussions, and it'll, produce a response and an answer, and then also show you what knowledge-based source the response came from, right? So, and we'll get into this later on, but you could, essentially upload knowledge-based sources into our platform, like company handbooks and, job requirements and interview intelligence to create better responses and outputs. Some of the quick actions we have as part of our AI is Catch Me Up. So this is great for managers and anyone that wants to get a summary of recent activity. Interview prep, suggested next steps, pros and cons analysis, comparing feedback, so the team sentiment and areas diverging around the candidate, and then requesting feedback as well. And this is some of the, automated capabilities we have within our AI. And you could edit this message and then send as you deem necessary. Any questions as far as our AI capabilities here? All right, great. So I will hop into the first dashboard, which is again tied to the job. So this is job level dashboard. This is an area where I could see all my @mentions, unread messages, new conversations, and stale conversations. And then we have the table-based view of the 2 levels of communications. And you could, sort by stage, status, activity. Depending on the ATS, it varies. But then you could quick hop into any of these channels and then view the profiles as well, either internal team members or candidates. On the left-hand panel here, you'll see we also have a tab section. This is for all the jobs that you have private subchannels. This is the view that you can come in and take action directly from here. We also have direct messages. So these are one-on-one conversations with internal team members. You can create new conversations as you deem necessary. Activities. These are all the conversations that you've missed within any given period. You could hop in and see your mentions and threads at a quick glance. We also have our archive channels, which are all tied to retention periods that are set by the system administrator in our settings, which is another great compliance feature here as well. One of the biggest pieces to this platform is our AI global dashboard, right? And this is taking those job level dashboards and taking it up a notch, covering all the jobs across the entire platform, right? And breaking it down by all those channels, role level comms and candidate level comms as well. So I could come here on my main dashboard and look at my day and see what needs to get done for me. And then I could click, or I could choose to snooze for 24 hours if I'd like. I could see the engagement health, the stall detection, pipeline signals, etc. I could hop into any of these and see exactly what's stalling or what needs to get done, right? And what's priority as far as my tasks for the day. Going back to here, you could also see that we have the table view for ease of use, and this is all the jobs and channels under one view. Other than that, we have a smart search. So this is the global search where you could, click on anything. It'll take you to that message and actually highlight it. This is an example of recruiters sifting through multiple inboxes to find pertinent information. When they're using Sync2Hire, it's at their beck and call. So it's immediate, it's quick, and gets you to where you need to be. Outside of that feature, we have our settings. So this is a lot of times where the system administrator or the primary admin will come to check on access controls. So this is where you can see all the internal team members and candidates that are synced to the platform. And then you can see what type of user they are, change the group that they're in. And then we make it easy so you could batch it, you could group, start new groups, and then toggle on all the permissions that they are able to have there. And then our overview, which is really helpful, is like a grand matrix of all the permissions, groups, and team members aligned. Next part is our integration. So this is how you test the health of the integration. This is an example of iSIMS as the ATS. And then your configurability is actually going through a step-by-step, I think it's a 10 to 12 step wizard that helps your system administrator choose what they want to sync and not sync under 2-minute process. We have retention policies, as I mentioned, and then our AI settings. And this is the last piece, and then I'll ask if there's any questions. But this is where a company can toggle on if they want AI settings in our platform or not. And then this is the knowledge sources. So this is where you can upload, workspace-wide documents, and that can be handbooks, policies, general interview guidance. You'll see that the handbook is uploaded here, and this could give you also the job level hiring guides. So really unique, special feature in order to enhance our AI capabilities. And then we have the system prompts as well. So this is basically customizing how the AI behaves in different contexts across all your workspaces. I will stop there. I know it's a lot of information and I'm showing you a lot of the features. Very complex behind the curtains, but very simple and user-friendly to create that Slack-like experience, Teams-like experience in sync with the actual ATS data. Matt, did I miss anything?
Just two pieces for compliance that I would point out are the EEOC guardrails. Very important. I ask talent leaders all the time, are your hiring managers using general purpose AI for interview questions or anything else related to hiring? And often they don't answer. I think they suspect, but they're a little leery to suggest otherwise. But these guardrails are uneditable. They make sure that you're following compliance guardrails. or EOC guidelines. The second would be the retention policy. Have spoken with some talent leaders who have, faced litigation in terms of hiring and tracking down text messages, Slack messages, et cetera, that are disparate in nature has been very difficult and challenging at times. By retaining all of this, because it's all happening within the context of each job role and each candidate, having them all in one area, but not polluting your ATS with every single message sent back and forth, but maintaining that, maintaining the AI feedback questions, things of that nature, along with the EEOC guidelines, really keeps everyone compliant.
Thanks, Matt.
I actually have a question. I don't know if I actually asked this last time. Are you able to do like bulk actions through this platform? Like, for instance, if you're like, oh, I need to schedule or even like dispo or archive a candidates, can you do it through this platform since it's integrated, or how does that work?
Not bulk actions, but you can dispo individually when you're on it.
Okay. I think it would be maybe a little bit helpful to kind of see like an actual, like a workflow, right? Like you add a candidate, or like kind of dig into what does it look like from if this candidate needs to be scheduled for something, what is it showing you? What does it look like from the platform angle? Am I doing that?
Yeah, so you want an example of, I guess to talk through it first, right? Let's give an example of Theodore Braun, right? As soon as Theodore Braun in the ATS gets put into the first stage, right, an active process, that's when you'll see the communication channel automatically hit the platform, right? So you don't have to do that manually. Now, you could add team members and remove them as you see fit, but this is where you start communicating with all those team members, coordinating, micro conversations, quick questions, all that stuff that usually happens across multiple disparate tools happens in this centralized location specifically, right? Because it's all in sync with the ATS. Your communications are tied to the senior data scientist job, right? The stage in which this candidate's in process with, and related to the actual candidate for context. So once you have all these communications, you can coordinate the interviews here. Then you actually schedule the interview in the system of record. That's their core competency. This is the place where all the collaboration takes place. You can use Sync2Hire to help move things down the line. You could also use Sync2AI, right, for scheduling purposes and coordinating, a little bit of bulk action, right, automation there. But this is the space where that happens. And then as the candidate moves from stage to stage in the ATS, it automatically starts creating these new channels so that the discussion points happen organically and automatically at the right place and the right time.
Okay, very cool. I guess. Oh, go ahead, Cassie. Go ahead.
Sorry, Sabrina. I was just going to ask. So, when you're talking about the scheduling from here, this schedules like within Ashby, for example, or when you said that you have to do the actual scheduling in the system of record, you like talk about scheduling time options here, and then you can go back into Ashby and manually schedule like normal.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And there's a big reason we stay away from scheduling. It's because it's one of the ATS's, core products within their platform. So system of record and all the features they have, we kind of stay in our lane around collaboration. So you'll be directly communicating around the scheduling, coordinating with internal team members, and then scheduling in Ashby.
Got it.
I have kind of a more broad question. So this is kind of more like overall business strategy and kind of who you're targeting. When you're talking to recruiters, recruiting leaders, like what's the biggest use case or I guess pain point that you're solving for them? Like what are you running into when, like what kind of big problem are they running into that they would need something like this?
You know, on my end, it's the communication when hiring managers in particular, but they could be panel interviewers, anybody who's not day to day in the ATS system, not using the ATS system or being reluctant to. Perfect example. Before I decided to join Brian and this team, I talked to a friend of mine who is a VP of sales at a pretty large company, and I saw that the ATS they use was one of our partners. I asked him about by name. I said, "It looks like you use this ATS," and he said, "What's that?" I said, "Well," I explained what an ATS was. He's like, "Oh, that's that thing they're always trying to get me to use." And so looking at how easy those messages, if I'm a recruiter, I have a choice with someone like that of, I want to ask, what do you think of Claire, via text or Slack, because they're not responding elsewhere. And now I'm the hiring manager and I'm like, who is Claire? Now I have to go into the ATS, figure out which role it is, who is Claire, get all the context around it. Or if I'm in the TA department, I might ask him and then put in a LinkedIn link, his or her resume, for all the different contexts. Whereas I could just use Sync2Hire to ping him, say, what do you think of Claire? He's already on the record with the role, with the candidate, has all the context of who they are, can quickly pull up their resume or see their work history, and provide notes or feedback. I mean, I asked him too, I said, that's really delaying things quite a bit. Have you lost candidates because things are taking too long? Your time to hire is just too long. He said, no, we never lose candidates like that. And 2 weeks later, I got a text message from him. Well, it finally happened. So he did, and it was because the offer sat too long before getting out to the candidate. So I think things of that nature are really important, just day to day.
Yeah, to add on to that, is you have, and the industry as a whole sees this as a major pain point. Recruiters are sifting through multiple inboxes to find pertinent information, right? So that's slowing down decision making. No one's aligned, a lot of communication chaos. So this is a centralized location for all those recruitment related conversations to happen in sync with the actual ATS data. Now, a lot of education goes out, right, and is involved in helping people understand that there now is a solution for the pain point they've been feeling for the longest time, but have had no solution to solve for it, right? Sync2Hire is the first of its kind to do this. And we've been validated across every legacy ATS, every nimble newcomer. No one has this yet. And the pain point is being surfaced more now than ever. So like Matt said, the longest time candidate experience has been prevalent, conversational AI tools, text recruiting, but the team experience, right? They've been turning their heads on it for a while, and that's just as important, if not more important, to make sure you have a solution for. So just wanted to add that.
Cassandra, it looks like you have a question. Yep.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious what size, stage, industry companies you're seeing success with on this. And the reason I ask that is I largely come from the startup space, where, I typically not dealing with companies that are exceeding 1,000 employees. And I don't have hiring managers who are confused on how to use my ATS. And if I did, I would be correcting that, So that pain point you're talking about isn't one that I see. And maybe that's because I'm in a smaller org and I'm able to have my hands more on my hiring teams in that way. But I set up a dedicated Slack channel anytime I'm hiring with all of my hiring stakeholders. And I guess what would you say to someone like me? Or am I just not the target audience, I guess, for this, if I already kind of have the centralized Slack channel where everyone is to have these types of conversations already, and they already know how to then navigate to the ATS as needed to reference things. Like, I guess, like, how is this different than that?
Brian, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So I think the first part to that question is yes, we're definitely enterprise driven. The more complex a company is, the better our tool solves for, right? Think of thousands of candidates in active process across different teams, regions, functionalities, cross-departmental. So this is an enterprise grade tool for sure. But, for example, I can't disclose the company, but we're signing on a company that just got their first ATS, which is going to be Ashby, right? Before that, they were using LinkedIn to surface their job recs and do their recruiting. But now they're going to have Ashby. This is only a 60-person group, right? But they have multiple stakeholders involved in every single job across every candidate in active process. And they just banned Slack and Teams from recruiting communications because they didn't realize a candidate was in a channel with internal team members saying the wrong thing at risk of a lawsuit. I've seen that with an enterprise company recently as well. The problem with these generic tools is they are not in sync with the ATS data, right? They could surface notifications, all that's great. We have a Slack integration as well, but it's not purpose built for recruiting. So that's the biggest difference.
I would say some other companies too that are using Slack currently. Slack gets very, very busy, number one. But number two, it's things like on the screen right now, you have that background check. It could be compensation. You're having to create a new channel in Slack for every single conversation that maybe shouldn't be involved with every stakeholder, every member of the hiring team, panel interviewers, etc. And then each candidate also is getting their own. So it's a lot of channels. If you're solving that by Slack and you're really not feeling the pain, I understand.
Yeah, 100%.
But I would also say, the other tools that are available within this as well, using catch me up summaries. Someone goes on a vacation for a week and comes back and is missed 100 or a couple hundred messages relevant to a particular role or something like that. That can be a lot to get through. So, and then I would also argue the stall detection is a huge help for recruiting teams as well. Not having to hunt down every hiring manager if they're just like getting feedback or scorecards back, that sort of thing. Having a system that can alert them without you having to do all that work as well, and maintaining it. So,
Got it. Makes sense.
mm-hmm. What ATS are you using?
Right now, Ashby.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Y'all are also, we're very happy to answer any questions on y'all's end as well. About anything. Feel free to gather as much information as you'd like.
Matt, do you have anything specific?
Where do you guys are, besides Cassie, who's already answered it? Anyone else have any ever feel this pain in general, or understand any feedback for us, good or bad, is always welcome as well.
I think for me, I don't know how I would use this. So just like Cassandra, I would work with my teams pretty much directly. Like they don't use the ATSs heavily because they have like links on their invites that go to like their resume, that goes to the candidate's profile. They can put notes in there. So I just like Cassandra, I'm trying to figure out like how I could find the tool useful. I think the incidents where like a candidate's added to a Slack channel, there's questions on how did that happen and who was managing that is my first real question on that front there.
Yeah, I manage all those hiring channels, and they're all private, invite only, can't be seen by anyone else. So I could see how someone who is moving too quickly created a public channel, added the wrong person, whatever the case. Like, of course that's possible. But that's a big oopsie.
Yeah, but it does usually flag like there's someone who's external, right? Like I have external Slack chats with like agencies and other companies, and it does say like it's an external chat. It does
100%.
flag. So it is strange that I'm not gonna ding any recruiter, but it would be very strange that they could let that slip.
Yeah. I didn't even think about this. Was external.
This was a 10,000 person company, I think. But yeah, I mean, there's mistakes that can happen everywhere, right? Like that's just one specific example. But the biggest takeaway is the fact that it's not in sync with the ATS data, right? But grand scheme of things, it's definitely an enterprise solution. As I said, the more complex a company, the better the solution, works.
I would also actually. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I would also say we are seeing some success with external recruiters who have multiple clients because we're integrated with several different ATS systems, especially, and you can switch between environments as well.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my point. Is I think when we chatted, I kind of mentioned like, from a startup perspective, I can see how, recruiters primarily in startups kind of live in Slack or whatever their messaging system is. My pain point specifically, and I think Dave on this call as well can probably attest to this, but if you have multiple clients, that's where it gets tricky. You're like, oh, and I'm like in multiple Slack channels. So that's where it can get really tricky. And especially like, even from a startup perspective, I am in multiple Slack channels. We have startups that we work with that they don't even know how to use. They want us to use Ashby, but they don't use Ashby. So it is very much like having to translate that information from the ATS to them, to the hiring managers. So I actually see this as quite honestly, as a better use case for that environment versus like, obviously not really for startup, but even outside of enterprise, like I honestly see this as a better use case for like freelancers or people working with multiple clients at the same time.
Yeah, we've seen it. That's the other side of it. Spot on is the external recruiters, micro agencies, and larger staffing agencies. This year, you can have a workspace for every single client you have, right? And it can be integrated across multiple ATSs. But all of your workspaces, communications tied to those workspaces will be in one centralized location, again, in sync with all the data coming from those different systems of records.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being valuable. And especially because, again, like it's interesting because if you hit a certain stage of startup, if it's like a 10-person company, they struggle to use the ATS. So that would be helpful. But once you kind of reach past that, and obviously like as a recruiter, you're kind of primarily in charge of that. But if you're more of like that external recruiter where it's like you are managing their ATS, but you're also having to manage like multiple ATSs, that would be something like this would be really useful.
Yeah, and I also, one more thing to note that I think is important that we've seen across the board, number of companies, like although everyone tries to keep everything in one organized Slack channel, there are micro conversations happening on side text, on ATS notes, on email, right? So across disparate tools related to the same candidate, conversations are scattered, right? And that's what our tool is built for, to centralize that, organize it, and keep it in sync with the ATS. So that's our biggest value prop. And then you add on all the AI capabilities and the matrix and the dashboards and the table views. That goes a long way for these teams, individuals, et cetera.
That's actually a good question. So right now it's pulling from the ATS. So it'll, like if, for instance, I'll use Ashby as an example. So it'll pull from your Slack, it'll pull from ATS. So it's finding like all the Slack information, it's finding all the ATS information. That's not how.
No,
Okay.
that's called omni-channel, and that
Okay.
becomes a severe mess that you don't
Okay.
want to have. This is, instead of using all those disparate tools, you
Got
use
it.
Sync2Hire for all your recruitment related conversations.
Got it. Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
All
We don't-
general employee, general comms, those happen on the generic tools that everyone's used to living in every day.
And we don't expect hiring managers who are reluctant in a case to keep this open at all times if they're not, living in the ATS, and they may not have ongoing hiring needs as hiring managers or handlers. They may infrequently be asked to be involved, etc. That said, if they miss a message in here, they can get those messages on the tools that they already use. So it can ping them on Slack, for example. Missed a message 5 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, whatever they have it set to, and then they can open the window, have all the context needed, all the who the candidate is, what role we're talking about, etc. So
yeah, and this way all the messages are going back to the right place for
correct.
the recruiters and the recruiting operations folks that are the primary users of the platform.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be really helpful. I think that was kind of more what I was alluding to. Is like, okay, how do we get our hiring managers to use this if they don't even want to use our ATS? But again, like hiring managers have to live in Slack or whatever the messaging system is for other things. So that's probably where they live the most. So if there was a way to be able to like send from this platform to Slack, that would probably be helpful. Linking it back to.
Yeah, we already meet them where they are through our Slack integration.
Cool. I don't know if we actually went over this too much, but from a reporting perspective, I think that's the other big thing. So again, like kind of thinking more externally, like every week I have to basically show pipeline update and like just updates in general. I think you said we could do this, but you can export this information, right? And just like have it in the clear. Okay.
Yep. You can export the transcripts and the communications, also the files as well. And those could be uploaded to any record within the ATS. Yeah,
it most likely would be like pipeline breakdowns, right? Like this person's in recruiter screen, this person, you've got these people going to on-sites, et cetera. Like that's usually what they care about. Okay.
Also, a great place to do that is surface it within Sync2AI, right? You could ask AI these questions. It could pull that information for you.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Awesome. Any other questions for us, for the group?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everyone's time. And Sabrina, thanks for putting this together. Always great to present a new product and solution to a new group of folks that are potentially interested here. We are running free trials, right? So I know a lot of folks are used to utilizing Slack and other tools. This is new to the market. We'd love to get a few of you up and running if you'd like, and we will walk you through how to get started and how to use it. But again, appreciate your time and interest and look forward to continuing conversations.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Just so you know, so we'll share this recording internally with the group. We also share out a feedback form. So there's a few different questions on there. Any feedback we get, we'll relay your way. I will definitely be in touch. I am interested in checking this out. I think we already talked about that though. And anyone who wants to contact you, I'll make sure we connect them with the group. But thank you all so much for joining today. Thanks, Syelo crew.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.